Thank you, Pearson. Hello, everyone. I see everyone greeting from all different places in the world. That's lovely. Thank you for joining me again. I see some familiar names, and thank you if it's your first session with me as well. Hopefully not the last. Some of you might have attended some of the previous STEAM sessions with me. So perhaps one on Wednesday, last Wednesday. If you did attend the session last Wednesday about STEAM, could you please write a quick me in the chat box? Yes, I did. Good. We've got some me's, and yes, I did. Lovely. Good. So you're back for more. That's wonderful. Okay. There are lots of myths related to STEAM. Being quite a new approach.
I've lost Sarah there momentarily. Yeah, and it seems the same is happening to you. If we just give Sarah a moment to rejoin. Thanks for your patience. Stay with us.
For a second. Am I back now? I hope I am. All right. So
there we go. You're back. Good stuff.
Okay, lovely. Sorry about that. Connection issues, of course. All right. So going to the second slide. Sarah is back. Yes, here I am. I would like you to just answer this question. How much do you know about STEAM? And we're going to have a little poll coming up in a minute. Let's see if we can get this poll up so we can see how much you know about STEAM, or how much you think you know about STEAM, because you might know more than you think, actually. If you can see that poll there, you've got three options: a lot, a little, and no clue. So if you would like to answer that, and then we can see what your feelings are about STEAM. Let's see where we're standing. Those of you who came to the previous session, I hope you feel like you know a lot. There's always more space for learning something, of course, but you might feel quite confident already with a nice understanding of what it all means. You might just know a little. You might have no clue whatsoever and wondering what we're doing here. That's fine. Good, lovely. Okay, mostly a little, it looks like. Okay. The answers are shown here. I don't know if you can see the answers, but what I can see is that we've got 32% of you saying a little. 11% says no clue, and 5% says a lot. Good. A lot, as I have attended a previous webinar. That's lovely, Naveed. Okay, fantastic. Now, going back. There are lots of misconceptions about STEAM. So let's see if those of you who said you know a lot agree with these myths and misconceptions that I'll present today. If that opens your view of what STEAM is in any way. Those of you who know a little might not be looking into STEAM so much because of these misconceptions. And you might go away with the feeling today that you want to know more, and that's great. And those of you who have no clue whatsoever, this might give you a little nudge to start looking into it. So let's imagine for a minute that you don't know much about STEAM. you're a teacher who doesn't know very much about STEAM. You're one of those who said no clue, and you're actually quite afraid of it. Think about that. So if you're a teacher who's quite afraid of STEAM, maybe you're thinking of words like coding, like algorithms. If you were a language teacher scared of STEAM, what words would you be thinking of? Could you use the chat box and tell me what words you would be afraid of if you were afraid of STEAM? What words come to mind? If we could brainstorm a few words that come to mind when you think of STEAM. You think of technology. You think science and maths, and are you scared of science and maths? Agriculture, someone says. Software. Hard work, how does it work? Good. Teamworking, math, science and technology. Yes, what words come to mind when you think of how scared you are about STEAM? Experiments, engineering, that big word. Yes. Innovation, methodology. How do we work with it? Okay. Poor connectivity. Yes. You're not afraid, you're curious. That's nice. Limitations. That's a good one. Yep. Okay. So perhaps you're thinking of words like related to technology. You think, oh, I'm no good at technology. It's a new thing. Anyway, I've never got connection, or I haven't got the software. You may think about engineering, that big and uncommon word for our job, for teachers, for language teachers. Robots. It can sound overwhelming, can't it? Scary. But instead, it's more about integrating these subjects and the concepts that are built into these subjects while we're teaching English. So that's what we're going to look at, how these misconceptions have come up, but we want to debunk them and think about what it actually means for language teaching. So we'll start with just a quick, what is STEAM? Just for those of you who are not familiar with the term, we'll dissect the STEAM subject to see, what does science really mean? What does technology really mean? Should I be afraid of them? We're going to look at some example STEAM lessons to show how this works. We're going to see that STEAM is actually for everyone. It doesn't matter what age you are, what your interests are. You're probably going to be happy with STEAM. And we're going to look at some STEAM topics so that you can actually see that you're doing this already in your classrooms, and it's not such an unfamiliar term, really. So STEAM, just to go quick on this, for those of you who are not familiar with the term, STEAM is an acronym that means science, technology, engineering, art and design, and maths. So what STEAM intends to do is to integrate these subjects and make connections between the content areas to drive instruction. STEAM learning is cross-disciplinary. It, in life, we don't do anything that is separate, that is separated in chunks, that is separated in subjects like we do at school. There's connections are being made all the time. This is what happens with STEAM. This is what we want to do. So it also explains how, for example, scientists or engineers do their jobs. Scientists and engineers ask questions. They define problems to solve. They carry out investigations. They analyze data. They use their mathematical thinking. They also need art and creativity to think out of the box and come up with new solutions, don't they? So it's not just science alone. They're always using some form of technology, aren't they, scientists? So it's all interconnected. And this approach helps our learners to steam ahead, if you like, as they collaborate, problem solve, and think critically and creatively through hands-on experiences. Someone asked a few seconds ago about how we connect STEAM and CLIL, or what the differences are between STEAM and CLIL. And one of the big differences is that CLIL perhaps is not necessarily hands-on. It could be, but STEAM must be hands-on. You don't read a text and understand the text and that's where we leave it, which could happen in CLIL, but we actually need to do something with that information in STEAM. So it always has to be hands-on. It's inquiry-based. We're discovering, we're exploring, and that doesn't necessarily happen in CLIL. So it helps learners become curious, and explore and discover these attributes that are needed to become lifelong learners. So we'll give it a start by dissecting these subjects. Now, S, we said, is for science. Who here knows a lot about science? Tell me in the chat box. Do you know a lot about science? Yes, no, a bit, no, Santa says. Eugene says no. Oh, I wish, no. Oh, nobody's very good at science here. Ooh, well, you know what? I've got news for you. I don't believe any of you. We all know a lot about science because we have been doing science since the day we were born. So there you go. All those answers should have been yes. I know a lot about science. You, me, everyone here has been trying to figure out how the world works by engaging in a series of steps called the scientific method forever. The scientific method includes observing, forming questions, making predictions, carrying out little simple experiments as we grow up, using, of course, a very basic form of the scientific method while we explored and we discovered the world around us. We've all done that. Children are little scientists. They find patterns and build theories to explain what they see. And they collect data to test those theories. They're really just guesses or little explanations about things. So actually, we all know a lot about science. That's one of these misconceptions. Oh, I don't know about science. I can't do this. Well, I think you can. Don't think about this image when you think about science. It's not just this. And anyway, just because children are born scientists, it doesn't mean that they can do it all alone, okay? They need adults to help them realize and expand their STEAM capacities. So we don't just leave it to them. That's why we're teaching STEAM. Do children understand the concepts behind their experiences? I don't know. Imagine a baby, when babies eat and they drop their spoon and mum picks up the spoon and baby drops the spoon and mum picks up the spoon and baby drops the spoon. That's cause and effect. That's science. That's exploring gravity. Okay, the child might not really understand that concept just yet, but they are starting to understand it. And that's science, and that's a baby. So we do understand about science. Or if a 3-year-old is rolling a ball down a slide, that's also gravity. And they're not really perhaps thinking about the concept, but the ball is always going to go down. It's not going up, is it? It's going down the slide every time. So they're playing with that concept of gravity. So I'm going to show you an example. This example is taken from English Code, Pearson's course. And learners will learn in this experiment about their bodies, about bones and muscles. They're going to be doing yoga poses to do this. I'm sure if you suggest to your learners, let's do some yoga poses, there'll be no problem with that. They won't say, oh no, that's too scientific, I can't do that. But while they're doing the yoga poses, they'll be learning about bones and muscles in their body, which is science. So they're understanding the human body. Learners will first watch a video, then they're asked to read a text. They'll color in the bones and the muscles different colors so that they can identify which are bones and which are muscles. Easy so far? Then comes experiment time. The question is to guess which body parts are using muscles in the yoga poses they're going to be doing. So learners will use their body to create that yoga pose and consciously pay attention to what happens with their bodies and how their bodies can move because of their muscles that are soft and they're attached to their bones and give us flexibility, and because of their bones that allow their bodies to stand straight. They're hard and it gives the body shape. That's all it is. Do you think that is really complicated? Is that difficult? Do we need a lot of scientific knowledge to carry out this STEAM challenge in your classroom? Okay, it's quite simple really, isn't it? Don't be afraid of science. You know a lot about science, and look at the type of science activities we're looking at. Okay, you don't need to be a qualified scientist to do this. It's easy. Good. Yes, Beta. Lovely. We've done with science. Easy enough. Technology. Okay, T is for technology. What automatically comes to mind when you think of technology? Could you write in the chat box? What comes to mind when you think of technology? PC, computer, laptop, using tablets, platforms. Yes. Okay, lots of computers, robots, internet, devices, social media. Lovely. Okay, this is one of the biggest misconceptions about STEAM. When you hear the word technology, you automatically think of the latest gadgets, greatest electronics, smart boards, Google Maps, Skype connections, don't you? When we think of technology, computers come to mind, robots, programming, as you're saying, yes. And that's when you say, oh, no, 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 no. I have no technology in my classroom. I can't do this. I don't know how to use that interactive whiteboard anyway. And whenever I want to use it, it breaks down. I can't get internet connection in my classroom. Okay, don't stress. I have a question for you, a big question. Can this be considered technology? What do you think? Is this a form of technology? Ha! Okay, and nobody mentioned this when I asked what comes to mind when you think of technology. Right, we don't think of this. How about this that I'm showing now with my hand that you can see on the screen? Is this technology? Did someone invent this? Does this help me to do something? Does it have a function? Some sort of task in particular? Okay, the definition of technology in STEAM is placed on the history of technology, the history of the invention of tools and techniques. Think of the oldest technologies, simple stone tools used to start fires, to hunt, to cut food. All that is prehistoric technology. It has obviously now evolved into all these things that we think about when we think of technology. But actually, all that is also technology. Someone invented it once. A spoon is technology. Someone once invented that so that we can eat things like soup. But otherwise, it's very difficult with a fork. So electronics are part of technology, yes, but the basic definition refers to the use of tools that help us in our everyday world. So these simpler tools and technologies allow learners to understand how they help us accomplish tasks, what their functions are. And they can see the cause and effect behind them. They have a function. They were invented to help you do something better. At their time, they were innovative tools. Now we have other innovative technology. So if we look at this graph, we'll see that there's electronic and non-electronic technology. Technology includes simple tools like pulleys, wheels, scissors. Scissors are technology. Ramps, even cutlery, as I just mentioned. Forks, knives, spoons. They were invented to make life better. So I'm going to present to you now the most complex tool of all. It's a tool of observation. I'm presenting, pay attention to this really complex tool, the cardboard tube. It's a tool that helps us focus our explanations. And you're going to see that cardboard tubes come really handy in STEAM experiences. Wherever you are, you might feel a bit embarrassed if you're at home right now or at the office or in the staff room. Wherever you are, if there's someone around, you might feel embarrassed. But if you dare, I would like to invite you to try out a version of this such complex observation tool and put your hands together to make your own tube. Hold it up to your eye and look around you and see what it does. Close one of your eyes and look through that one with your tool there. Look down at your notes or look around you. Does this tool, hands or paper tube, help you focus your observations? Just something as simple as narrowing down the field of vision. It helps learners zoom in on more details. You look at a tree, look at the trunk of the tree, the bark, the branches, the leaves, look at the sky through the leaves. All of that is helping learners focus in on their science skills, narrowing the field of vision while using a tool of technology. So I'm going to give you this example. This example again is taken from English code. This is level 5. So you'll notice it's a little more complex, but still think of technology, level 5 English lessons. So these are older learners, and learners will find out about the history of codes and ciphers. Oof, sounds really complicated, doesn't it? I'm starting with these strange words, codes and ciphers. Don't abandon me just yet. Bear with me. Okay. Now, in the chat box, help me brainstorm. What is the definition of a code? What is a code? Open your minds. Not just coding, not just programming. What is a code in a general sense? Yes, students love codes, exactly, yes. Okay, a message, patterns, a secret message, mystery, there you're going, good. You see, it's much more interesting than you thought, hey? Okay, a code is just when you replace a piece of information with something else. So it's a message that is coded and you need to decode it. So you're replacing perhaps words or letters or numbers or symbols. Don't your students like cracking secret codes? I'm sure they do. Yeah, like a puzzle. Yeah, exactly. So in this STEAM experiences, learners will read about the secret messages that Julius Caesar sent in his times. In this cipher, Julius Caesar's, that they're going to be reading about here, A, the letter A, becomes the letter D. B becomes the letter E. C becomes the letter F, and so on. So he would write his message using that code. Also, secret messages during World War II were in binary code. You know, those messages that are written with zeros and ones alone, like computers. In fact, the first computer was a machine that was made to decode the messages in binary code in World War II. So modern computers now use that system still. Computers change text and photos and videos into code, and that's called encryption. Never mind, but it's called encryption. So after that, they will practice using binary code to write dates. So they'll practice using zeros and ones to represent dates. And for experiment time, they will learn how to write a cipher by using a cardboard tube. Didn't I tell you? That's one of STEAM's favorite pieces of material. Use a cardboard tube and you'll find you can do so much with it. Learners will write a cipher by using the cardboard tube. They'll wrap a strip of paper around it and write a message on it. When you unwind the strip of paper, you end up with an encrypted message. They'll swap it with their partner and try to decode the message. So there you've got that example, that picture where you can see the cardboard tube and the strip of paper. Okay, so they'll try to decode their friend's message by using their cardboard tubes. Okay, were there any electronics in this lesson? Did I mention using a computer for this lesson? Did I mention using a laptop, a tablet, a robot? No, it's all about codes, but we haven't programmed a robot or anything of the sort. Okay, we did not use any complex technology. You do not need technology to do technology. There you go. That's important to remember. Okay, E. E is for engineering. What a big word. And this is what we usually think of when we imagine engineers, don't we? We think of big machines, or at least this is what I think of, big machines and super smart people, probably the least constructions, yes, probably the least familiar with teachers. Engineering activities already happen inside your classroom if you're working in early years. If any of you work in kindergarten, pre-primary, you're probably already using lots of engineering in your classroom. Think about children playing with blocks, as simple as stacking a tower. That's engineering. So young learners are already engineers, as they are scientists. They have big ideas, don't they? Engineers want to know how and why things work, and young people do too. This is the design process. They're planning, they're building something, creating, making, redesigning, and rebuilding. That all takes part in engineering. So I've got an example from English Code for you, which is how can I build a tower? In this STEAM challenge, learners explore structures and stability by building a tower with spaghetti and joining the dry spaghetti with clay, or by using cups and construction paper. And they create their towers. By doing this, they will learn about building materials and their strengths. And they will test the strength of the building materials by placing a book on top of their towers to see what happens if it falls or it doesn't fall. So that's how they will test the strength. They will learn about what engineers use to build strong houses, like bricks, wood, cement, steel. And they're going to experiment with the concept by using different types of materials. They're using their creative thinking as well, because they're using spaghetti and clay rather than bricks and cement. Okay. So in experiment time, it's when children actually build their two types of towers and test their strength by putting books on them. Okay, and they'll talk about how they made them, if they're strong or not strong, and the vocabulary words that are related to the materials that are used to build houses. So is it clear that engineering is not really such a big word in the end when you think about it? Quite simple, isn't it? It's more like playtime. Let's go to art and design, the A in STEAM. STEAM started out as STEM. Art and science, or art and math seem like opposites, don't they? One is perhaps more data-driven, more left-handed. The other is art is more driven by emotion, more expressive, more right-brained. But a creative mindset is critical for STEM subjects, those first STEM subjects, science, technology, engineering, and maths. Scientists, mathematicians, technology developers, you're saying it. Yes, you're saying it in the chat box. Creativity, absolutely. They could not possibly do their jobs without creativity. They need to be innovative and solve problems creatively. So they can't do it without art, can they? That artistic slant gives STEAM what it needs to be truly balanced, and it intends to be a balanced and integrated approach. So Einstein would agree with this, I think. Okay, who was Einstein? What did he do? Was he a mathematician? Was he a technology developer? What was he? Wasn't he an artist? What would you say he was? A scientist, maths and science, someone says. A physicist. Okay, physicist. Do you know which area of the arts he enjoyed? A genius, someone says. Yes, an inventor. Good. Do you know which area of the arts he enjoyed? Music. Yes. Okay. Apparently, he said that if he had not been a physicist, he would have been a musician, because he felt like he thought in music. What instrument did he play? Oh, there you go. Linda said he played the violin. Yeah. Good. Yes, he played the violin. And the piano, I think, as well. The story suggests that for Einstein, piano playing or playing the violin had the same effect walking has for many people, letting creative juices flow while you walk. And that's what happened with him when he was playing the violin or the piano. And he said he discovered his theory of relativity through music. See how art and science actually do go together. and has forever and will forever. And art and design is not only about drawing, not only about art to mean visual arts, but it's an umbrella term to mean music in this case, or any art you like. This is what makes STEAM so balanced and engaging and inclusive for everyone. Learners express themselves in different ways. And so you might want to explain a science concept through drama, why not? Or how about explaining a life cycle of a caterpillar turning into a butterfly by expressing it with the body? So movement, drama, sculpture, painting, murals, dance, self-expression, that can all fit into art. Art and design, of course. So in this example, learners are going to discover how to make a looping animation. Okay, sounds difficult again, doesn't it? But when you go into it, you'll see it's really simple. They're going to discover how films work. Learners will first learn about looped animation. Looping an animation, do you know what that is? Looping an animation causes it to repeat. So in a basic form, it's drawings that will loop and repeat so that it looks like it's moving. So it looks like it's in movement. A loop is a short recurring event with a simple design. So it repeats and creates a short and simple film as it goes along. It could be a character or an object, and it looks like it's moving. Okay. So of course, for experiment time, learners are going to make their own animation loop, and it will look like their picture is moving. So if you look at the example on the slide, you'll see that there's a frog, and when that circle is turned, it will cause the effect of a short film with a frog leaping. And the other example at the bottom shows a stick drawing of a person walking. And so this is one little tiny bit of how films are made, or were made, or perhaps still. But of course, now we use much more technology than this, but this is part of art and design, isn't it? How films work. Ozgu, I don't know if that is that question for me. Which book are you using? These are examples from English Code, Pearson's course, English Code. And there's one STEAM lesson in every unit, which is lovely. So is it clear that art and design does not mean drawing your favorite part of the book you're reading? You could do that, but it doesn't just mean that. It means much more than that. We're discovering how films work and how we can draw something and make it move. There is so much more that can be covered, and it's an umbrella term for lots of other types of subjects. So for the last one, M is for maths. Again, in the chat box, who is good at maths? Not me. I'm not good at maths. How about you? Okay, but we don't have to be mathematicians. We don't have to be mathematicians to do any of these STEAM maths-related exercises. Maths is a tool, again, that children have used forever. Children use it every day. Babies begin to understand the maths concept more very early on. More is a maths concept. Don't babies learn to say more very early in their lives? They want more. More and less is the maths concept. Early maths concepts like geometry are taught in English language classes. Don't we teach shapes? Do you teach shapes? Do you teach spatial relationships like prepositions, on, in, under? That's all maths, spatial relationships. Do we teach adjectives like big and small, size? Yeah, there you go. Someone said adjectives before I said it. What else do you teach in terms of maths? Comparatives and superlatives. Big, bigger, biggest. Sequencing stories. A life cycle has a sequence. That's a maths concept. There you go. So when you think of it, You're actually already doing maths in your classroom, aren't you? Dates, numbers, of course, yes. So maths is the process of understanding relationships among patterns, numbers, shapes. Patterns is great for learning language, where you can make patterns with different vocabulary items, and then the rest have to continue the pattern, for example. So you're using mathematical thinking while you're learning a language. That's great. Okay. So in this simple example, for level 1, this is for young learners. For maths, this lesson is about shapes. They will first listen and colour the picture frames according to the shapes mentioned in the audio track. So they're going to listen to an audio track and they'll colour the picture frames according to the shapes mentioned. So the audio track says that text that is on the screen. This is my mum. There's a robot introducing his family. Look, it's a circle. It's red, so they'll have to colour it in red. Then they'll find and count shapes in the classroom. And for experiment time, what they're going to do is make a family shape jigsaw. So they're working with family members, really, but we're going to be introducing the concept of shapes, of geometry, while they're making their puzzles. And they're going to cut their puzzles into different shapes. They might cut a circle or a square or a triangle, not the typical puzzle shape. And then they'll give it to a friend, to their partner, and their partner will put the puzzle together and talk about their family picture. Okay, so you've got the language that you're teaching there, and you've got the shapes. So see how easy maths can be. It doesn't really seem like maths, does it? It comes in very informally in a way, if you like. So you don't need to be mathematicians to do any of this, do you? It's not the typical maths lesson. We're not doing a maths lesson when we're doing STEAM, or we're not doing a science lesson when we're teaching English, but we're using all these concepts to do it, and it makes it very appealing to students, and it's all inclusive. That's why I say STEAM should be for all, because the more balanced the approach is, the more we will be addressing diversity and catering for the interests of our different learners. It's all inclusive. Learners of any age, any ability can find a way to connect with these concepts and these experiences. It's a playful way of discovering, analyzing, and learning while we're using English. We can incorporate engaging STEAM practices into the classroom in very simple ways, as you've seen today. I have had experience supporting teachers applying STEAM in classrooms of 3-year-olds. So I know it works even in classrooms teaching English as a foreign language at the age of 3. Of course, very simple, sweet, but lovely experiences. And I know teachers who have done it up to secondary school. So it's the whole age range. You can use that with adults, I'm sure, of course. Any level of English is fine. There's a misconception that a certain level of English proficiency is a prerequisite for participation in STEAM learning. But English language learners are developing their STEAM knowledge and their language proficiency when they're engaged in a meaningful interaction, and that's what they're doing here. Anyway, the best way about it is to connect the STEAM exploration or project to what you're working on in language already. All the examples I've given to you today are taken from English code, where you have one STEAM experience in each unit at the end of the unit. So it's connected to the theme. It's connected to everything that the learners have been learning throughout that unit until they get to their STEAM experience, where they're going to be able to use that language to be successful. So they've learnt all that language and now they're using it in a hands-on way. We always, we accept that people learn differently, don't we? Some people like moving to learn. Some people are more visual. Some people like to dance, come away from a desk. And that coming away from a desk can help some of your students understand, learn, or reinforce those concepts or that language that perhaps they just needed a little push to learn. So we'll be fostering spatial intelligence, musical intelligence, bodily kinesthetic intelligence, call it what you want, auditory, visual kinesthetic. Hands-on learning does that. It gives learners a possibility to expand their learning and learn it in a different way if they needed an extra. So perhaps you're doing a lot of seat work or working with the book, but then, okay, let's put this into action. Let's do something with this information. And that can be very helpful for some learners. STEAM battles for gender equality and breaking with gender stereotypes, which is a big thing nowadays. There was a study in which primary school children were asked to draw a scientist. Just as easy as that, just draw a scientist, primary age children. And their illustrations featured white coats, eyeglasses, lab equipment, books, the typical idea of a scientist. But what was interesting is that a tiny minority drew a female scientist. And guess who drew those female scientists? Boys or girls? Guess. Girls drew the female scientists. No boys drew a single woman scientist. So STEAM prepares girls for the future of the world as well. Girls can become scientists too. Girls can become engineers, and that's the message you're giving them. You can do this engineering experiment. You can be an engineer when you grow up if you want to, or a technology developer, or whatever they want to be. So if those 4 points haven't encouraged you to use STEAM, and I need to convince you a little further, I will try to build your confidence by mentioning that you already use STEAM in your classrooms. I know that many of you are probably using CLIL, or if not, project-based learning, perhaps topic-based learning, teaching around animals and their habitats. Tell me if I'm wrong. Okay, most of you are probably moving away from such a language-based approach to a more of a topic-based approach, CLIL, project, etc. That seems to be the trend. So can you identify any moments, any activities, any types of learning, any concepts that your students already engage with STEAM elements in your classroom? What do you do in your classroom already? What topics, what activities, what do you do already that you think might be STEAM? Okay, Ellie says the world. If you're working about the world, then that's science, isn't it? Maths with sets, you're using technology. Food, of course, drawing with their imagination, that would fit into arts and design, wouldn't it? You taught Alina about diet and healthy habits. That's science, isn't it? Inventions, yes. Sports, absolutely. So you are doing STEAM in your classrooms already. Lily says you read The Three Little Pigs and you built houses to integrate STEAM and science and engineering. That's lovely. Nature and sports, fantastic. Are these that you can see on the screen, are these STEAM topics? What do you think? Shapes, we said maths, the solar system, it's science, hot and cold, natural hazards, healthy living, someone said already, animals and their habitats. Take Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, something as simple as that. I'm trying to show you the simple one so that you can understand that it actually is very simple. You get a song like Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. It's a great opportunity to talk about stars and shapes. There's a diamond in the song as well. And how different is a diamond the same as a square? How is it the same and how is it different? And things that are far away are smaller and things that are close to you are bigger. So you've got a lot of science to explore with just one simple song like Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. All right. So we're coming to the end of the session. And I would like to know what your biggest takeaway is from the session, whether it's something that you would like to try out, whether it's something more theoretical or a concept to remember, whether it's an activity that you would like to use. Okay, you really can do it. You're leaving with the sensation that you really can do it. That's lovely. Thank you. You're adapting STEAM to STREAM. Okay, that's another interesting idea. Great. Technology, simple tools, fantastic. You're going to do some engineering, Alma. Lovely. Motivation. It is motivating to do things that are different, not only for your learners, so that it's not all classwork sitting down, but also being able to stand up and do something different, but also for the teacher to do different things. Cooking, that's a lovely idea. Okay, I'm happy it opened your mind. Lovely. Okay. Gadgets. Okay, creativity. Those are lovely ideas. All right. So I'm just going to round off with these suggestions. If you would like to read a bit more about STEAM, just to round off. If I haven't convinced you enough and you still feel like you need to learn more, you can learn about STEAM on Pearson's Experiences website, where you will have a lot of resources to download, a lot of material, a pocket guide, downloadable resources, the links to the webinars, and you also have Pearson's blog to look into with 3 blog posts to read. One is very much related to this webinar today. And next Wednesday, I'm going to be doing a lesson walkthrough. We're going to have 2 lesson walkthroughs, next Wednesday and the one that follows. What I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate one of these ideas taken from English Code, and I'm actually going to do the experiment there, and I'm going to walk you through the lesson so that you can listen to how, or see how, you can do it with your learners in the classroom, perhaps adapting it a little bit to the online lesson as well in case you need it. And so if you would like to join me, I'd be really happy to have you and show you how I would use a STEAM experiment in the classroom. And if you want to learn a little bit more about English Code, you have the Pearson's catalogue, and you can have a look at English Code to learn more about the course book. Thank you very much for joining me. This is where our STEAM experience ends today, but I hope you will join me next Wednesday. I hope you're no longer afraid of STEAM if you were at the beginning. Misconceptions cleared out the way, and you now feel like you know a lot, or at least enough to try it in your classrooms. Thank you, Pearson, for support and the opportunity to extend this way of working to more and more teachers. I hope you enjoyed it, and you'll probably be getting your certificates soon. Some of you are asking about that. Thank you very much, everyone. Bye-bye. Thank you.